Hare Krishna. We'll go ahead and start. Lila Purushottam Prabhu is going to be a little late. He just wrote me, and Jagor is not feeling much. Gauranga Gana Go Chugoloru Haram Gauranga Guditam Gopyata Kolpa Briksham Gopala Gada Rati Down Yati Singha Gora Govinda Deshika Varam Satatam Tama Adama Kichuna Bachil Jachia Jileka Kola Kahe Premananda Emona Goranga Ridoya Dariya Bola Goranga Kaha Goranga Laha Gorangera Namare Jai Jana Goranga Bhaje Se Hoyamara Pranare Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare Yashaiva Padambuja Bhakti Labhya Prema-bhakti-candrika Parama Pumata Tismai Jagan Mangala Mangalaya Chaitanya Chandraya Namo Namaste Chaitanya Chandraya Namo Namaste Chaitanya Chandraya Namo Namaste Madgavir Api Gopalam Sri Kriyat Kripaya Jari Tadaiva Sambhaya Pitva Rishi Yustat Priyajanam Shri Krishna Krishna Chaitanya Sasanatana Rupakam Gopala Raghunatha Abdam Rajabam Mahimam Panchakalpatarubhishcham Kripa Sindhu Vyevacham Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So we can recite this prayer together. Shri Krishna Namamrita Bhashivatra Chandra Prabhat Vasta Tumogaraya Gauranga Deva Anucharaya Tasmai Nama Shinarotamaya. Again and again, I offer my obeisances unto Srila Narottam Das Thakur. He is a true follower of Lord Gauranga Dev, the nectarian shower of the holy name of Krishna, radiating from the moon of his mouth, destroys the darkness of ignorance. So nice to see everybody back today. I'm really excited about this session today. I don't know what you're going to think about my comments that we're going to make today. It's some thoughts that we've gotten based on this verse of Narottam Das Thakur from Prema-bhakti-candrika, which let's go to that verse and look at it today. This is again, now we're on the third chapter, according to Ishwar Prabhu's publication. And this is the second verse, which is very similar to the verse that we were looking at last week. Let's see here. Put this on the Javajanamamura Parade Hainavara Nishkapati Nabajinu Tuma Tatapi Hatumi Gati Nachadiha Pranapati Muisoma Nahika Sanatana Das Thakur, now he's speaking, continuing speaking in some very humble words. He's giving us this book, Prema-bhakti-candrika, which is a moon rays of light illuminating the path of ecstatic love of bhakti. And you may be saying, well, come on, let's get on with it. Where's the Raganuga? Where's the ecstatic bhakti? And Narottam Das Thakur in the last, this verse and the previous verse, he's just speaking about humility. And he says that my dear Lord, since my birth began, Jabat Janama Mora Aparadya Hainapara, my whole life has just been full of offenses. Niskapati Nabhajina Toma, and I've never worshipped you in actuality. This session today, this discussion, I have to confess that when I started thinking about it, I became a little depressed. And I thought to myself, if I speak about this, then no doubt there's going to be a bolt of lightning that comes out of the sky and destroys me, burns me to ashes for being the greatest hypocrite, for trying to preach on something which is exactly my situation. And then feeling this despondency, I thought to myself, well, maybe the other devotees might also experience a little bit like that. And what is the necessity of Narottam Das Thakur torturing us with these statements about genuine bhajan? Anyway, that's the concept and general motivation I have with this discussion today. Let's finish this verse. Tatapi ha tumi gati. He says, but still, in spite of the fact that I've never worshipped you in actuality, still you're the goal of my life. And he says, my dear Lord, Nachadiha Pranapati, please don't neglect me, because you're my Pranapati. You're the Lord of my life. Mui sama nahika adama. There's no one is fallen, no one more fallen than myself. So what is the necessity of Narottam Das Thakur speaking this? Now, some commentators may express that Narottam is speaking out his own humility. But I would like to suggest that here he's giving something more than just that. Indeed, these are his own true feelings. He's revealing from his heart, because a Vaishnava won't speak something theoretical. He's going to speak something which is realized from his heart. But at the same time, these are instructions which are necessary for us. So in our last session, we spoke about humility and the importance of it, and how persons who are very proud, who think the whole world is revolving around themselves, they think these expressions of humility are something depressing and are unnecessary. Or maybe it's just some kind of false thing. And then we heard from Srila Sanatana Goswami's Brihad Bhagavatamrita, the purpose of humility and the connection between humility and prema. So I'd like to continue with that line of thought today. So let's look at this verse a little more closely. Narottam, he's praying, he says that Javat Janama Mora Aparadi Hainapur. This is the quality of my life. Now, again, as we spoke in our last session, this is Krishna Kuma, what's the phrase? This is first chapter of Bhagavad Gita. This is Bishad Yoga. I don't know what I'm going to do. Krishna Kuma will be staying here when we go to Czech in Germany. You're going to have to be online. I'm going to ask you questions. That this is the yoga of lamentation. So it's also, as we expressed in our last session, that happiness through reality. That this is my situation. Niskapati na bhajina toma. And he says this very depressing thing, that I've never really actually worshipped you. And what does it really mean to worship the Lord? To worship the Lord means that we call out with sincerity. But our minds, our hearts are full of so much trash. We're not calling out with sincerity. In the beginning of his wonderful book, Chaitanya Siksamrita, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, who Prabhupada once described as being his favorite author, and Chaitanya Siksamrita, Prabhupada told one disciple once, Pajumna Prabhu, that Chaitanya Siksamrita was Bhaktivinoda's most important book. Actually said Chaitanya Siksamrita and Jaiva Dharma, these two. And he said, Harinam Chintamani, not so important. It's just about Nama Parati. Told Pajumna, he said, aren't you beyond that yet? Well, maybe we're not. But in Chaitanya Siksamrita, Bhaktivinoda begins and he expresses 4 different reasons why a conditioned soul will approach the Lord. Bhaya, asa, kartibya, buddhi, and rag. Bhaya means out of fear. That we hear in many religions in the world that God is a wrathful God. God is an angry God. And if you don't worship him, he's going to damn you to hell for eternity. So fearing that, people approach the Lord out of fear. That's bhaya. And then asa is we have some material desire. And I'm not going to speak so much on these things. We've often commented about this, that most people, they're approaching the Lord out of asa. They want some toy, a girlfriend, a husband. They want this thing, and they want that thing. And Bhaktivinoda says that bhaya and asa are very low class. Better than that is kartibya buddhi. Kartibya buddhi means that I'm doing this worship out of a sense of obligation, especially to Gurudev, or perhaps to Krishna, who's given us everything. As the Christian prayer goes, give us, O Lord, our daily bread. That the Lord, he's feeding everyone. So I should pray to him. I have a debt to him. So having that sense of obligation, worship, is kartibya buddhi. But Bhaktivinoda says that kartibya buddhi, although it's much better than bhaya and asa, still kartibya buddhi also is selfish. It's not pure. The real platform is rag. And this is what Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came to teach us. And again, we're heard that we're approaching the Lord and we're doing this sakapatya bhajan. Jiva Goswami speaks about this in his Bhakti Sandarbha. He uses his phrase sakapatya and niskapatya bhajan, or bhajan with cheating and bhajan without cheating. And he says most of us are doing bhajan with cheating. Again, we call that organized religion. So people, when they're approaching the Lord at a bhaya, asa, or kartibya buddhi, it's a kind of cheating. They have some sense, kartibya buddhi is the best, right? That I'm doing this out of some sense of obligation for the Lord. But within that, there's some fragment, some sense of personal motivation again, that, oh, I have to do this thing. It's only on the platform of rag that the Lord is actually properly worshipped. So let's try to understand the importance of what Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came to give us. Throughout the Vedic literatures and throughout the world, there are many people who worship the Lord primarily out of bhaya and asa. And even we see this in Vedic literatures, we see this even in Hari Bhakti Vilas, in terms of Janmashtami, Sanatana Goswami, Gopal Bhatta Goswami. Hari Bhakti Vilas, according to Sanatana Goswami, was written by Gopal Bhatta Goswami. It's a little controversial in our line. And the Goswamis at the Radharaman temple, they're a little adamant about that. But in our line, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta and Prabhupada, generally they say Sanatana Goswami wrote the book. Well, as if I say both. But anyway, Sanatana Goswami himself, this Gopal Bhatta Goswami is the author. It seems that they work together. But in the section in Hari Bhakti Vilas about Janmashtami, which as I recall is in the 15th Vilas, if I'm not mistaken, and I wrote some article about that. If someone's really interested, you can make a little note in our WhatsApp chat right now and just remind me to send that article about Janmashtami, where we speak about bhaya, asa, and kartibya buddhi. We speak about different motivations for observing Janmashtami. And Gopal Bhatta Goswami, he gives a verse, he says that there are three primary motivations: out of fear, out of some selfish motivation, and out of love. And then he goes on, he gives, I think, one or two verses most speaking about the motivation of love. And then he gives, my gosh, over 100 verses speaking about fear, and over 100 verses speaking about some personal motivation. And in those sections about fear and personal motivation, which he doesn't designate them as sections, he just discusses. And so if you're not very astute, if you're not paying close attention to what's going on, you may think that this is the most important subject matter. And he says things like, if you even drink water Janmashtami day, you will see the Yamadutas and you will go to hell for such a long time and suffer and this and this. And he says so many things about observing Janmashtami, why if we don't do that, we're going to suffer. So these are motivations of fear. He doesn't label them like that, but it's clearly like that. And then he says that if you observe Janmashtami, you can get a beautiful wife, you can become Indra, you can get lots of money, you get a nice husband, you get this and that. That obviously is asa, or some personal motivation. And there's only a couple of verses about prema. That prema is what Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came to give. Now, I'd like to share with you some excerpts from an article of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. This is an article that I spoke on quite often. Most of you are probably familiar with it. Again, if anybody's not so familiar with it and you'd like, you can post something in our WhatsApp chat, and I can share this article with you. Let's see. Let's post this here. This is called the Associates of Sri Chaitanya. And he says that the cognitive faculty of the individual soul can have no ground to stand upon unless this divinity himself condescends to be the legs as well as the ground on which he's to stand to function at all. Okay, so I'm sure all of you it's a very easy sentence for you. Probably not. I'm going to break that up a little bit. This is the nature of bhakti. We cannot perform bhakti. So Narottam Das Thakur, in this verse, he's describing that Nishkapati na bhajina toma. He's speaking about what is pure bhakti. And he said that I've never worshipped you with sincerity. All that I've ever done is I've worshipped you with this bhaya and asa, maybe a little bit of kartavya buddhi. But it's always been some motivated thing. Now, to understand this, let's look at mundane love. And then it becomes very clear. If someone says, I love you, baby, a rickshaw wall or a low-class person tells that to a young lady, it's because perhaps he has some asa, he has some personal motivation. Or if someone comes to you and they're shaking out of fear and says, please, please, will you be my friend? Don't beat me up, because they're afraid of you. That also is not real love, and you don't feel happy to be friends with someone like that. Love is something which is spontaneous. So Bhaktivinoda, he says here, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta, says that the cognitive faculty of the individual soul can have no ground to stand upon unless the divinity himself condescends to be the legs as well as the ground on which he's to stand to function at all. We can't, our cognitive faculty, our ability to perceive. Now, this perhaps is a reflection from him on the famous verse from Padma Purana, which is given in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu and Chaitanya Chaitamrita, Ata Shri Krishna Nama Adina Bhavedrayam Indriya, stating that the indriya, or the material senses of the conditioned soul, cannot perceive Ata Shri Krishna Nama Adi, cannot perceive Krishna's name, cannot perceive Krishna, cannot perceive the spiritual master, cannot perceive the spiritual world of Krishna Katha. We cannot understand them with our material senses. Bhakti is something transcendental. And in the same way that someone can't just come and say, oh, I love you, what is that real love? And we should think about that love. Love is according to the identification that we have. And if someone is their identifications with the stula deha, with the material body, then they're thinking that love means something in connection with my body, that love means pizza. If someone makes pizza for me, that's love. If someone gives me ice cream, that's love. Love means sex. Love means something in connection, gives pleasure to my body, because that's my conception of myself. If someone is on a higher level, which is very, very rare in the world today, and they're thinking on the level of sukshma deha, the subtle body, which is the mind, intelligence, and false ego, and they're identifying with that, perhaps they're an intellectual, and they don't appreciate this low-class persons who want to just have sex with a woman, or just think that pizza is the goal of life. They think, no, we should play chess. No, we should be interested in classical music. We should have some particular interest. And their love will be reflected on that. But both of those types of love are hoitaki priti. They're love with a motivation. They have an ending, and therefore they're not in the nature of yatma supersidi. They don't satisfy the self. So you can't really understand someone. And this is why relationships in the material world are fraught, are full of problems, because relationships that are based on the stula deha priti, on love based on the body, then you don't really know the other person. You just know, wow, she's really got a beautiful physical body, or he's really, really handsome. And you feel some attraction for that based on your body. And because that's not really the person, then there's going to be problems in your relationship. And your motivation for the relationship is selfish. Similarly, with sukshma deha priti, or love, affection based on the subtle body, it's also selfish and exploitive. Although it's a little bit higher class, it still doesn't understand the real self. And therefore, Bhaktivinoda says that it's jiva priti. When we understand, when we have love for the condition, for the spirit soul. And real love, therefore, is based on bhakti. And therefore, it's described in the Sattva Tantra verse that I often quote, Hari lila satochara pareshi satatam tvayakarya pritasta baharayata bhakti vinashati. That if we want to protect our bhakti, then we have to learn to love devotees. And how do we love devotees? Through Krishna Katha. Because love does not mean pizza. Even sometimes devotees think, wow, pizza is real love. And for someone's birthday or this or that, they make pizza and they say, Prabhu, that's real love. Okay, that's some affection to you, because we are so much attached to our bodies that we think love means pizza and ice cream. But real love means bhakti. Real love means that we come together and we hear and we chant in a selfless way for the pleasure of Guru and Krishna. But the problem is, going back now, we can't even perceive that bhakti. So Narottam Thakur, he's saying here, Niskapate Nabijino Toma. I never really worshipped you. My bhajan was always Sakapatya bhajan. With cheating, kapatya means to cheat. It was always with this duplicity, always with this cheating, because the identification of myself. And therefore, at best, maybe I was doing some kartabhya buddhi. I was doing something out of some sense of obligation. And that's the best that mundane religion can offer. That's very, very rare in mundane religion. Mundane religion is generally based on bhaya and asa. And within our movement, within our bhakti movement also, the vast majority of devotees of the bhajan that we're practicing is on the platform of Bhaya or Asa, and therefore it's Sakapati bhajan. And therefore Narottam Das Thakur is telling us here, Nishkapati na bhajina toma. I never really worshiped you because I can't. I don't have that bhakti. So let's look at this article from Srila Bhaktisiddhanta. Now, it has a lot of old language. I'm going to break it apart. I realize I didn't break apart properly this sentence we looked at. Let's look at it a little bit more. The cognitive faculty of the individual soul can have no ground to stand upon unless the divinity himself condescends to be the legs as well as the ground on which he is to stand to function at all. So, Atashri Krishna Namadi Nabhavedrayam Indriya. We cannot perceive bhakti. We can't perceive real love because we're conditioned. We're thinking in terms of our body, or maybe our subtle body at the best, and that then our bhajan becomes a reflection of that. So we're doing bhajan because I'm afraid of God. We're doing bhajan because I want something from God. Or the best thing is that we're doing bhajan because I have some sense of obligation. But that's not real bhajan. Real bhajan begins when we have a connection with Guru. What is that connection? That's what we want to speak about today. What is the nature of sincerity? We speak about sincerity. Sometimes we say sincerity is everything, Prabhu. But what is sincerity? Is it just a switch that I flick on and off? Now I'm going to be sincere when I chant. I'm going to be sincere when I speak something. Where does that sincerity come from? It comes from our relationship with Guru. It comes from when we realize reality, as we were speaking in our last session. We quoted a verse from Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur's Harinam Chintamani, which Prabhupada says is not his most important book. But it's such a beautiful verse. We want to reflect on it some. Haridas Thakur says, Amita Adama, Tumi Adama Tarana. That this is who I am. Okay, so this is a very important thing. Love is going to be based on our conception of ourself. So if our conception of ourself is Stula Deha Priti, that I'm this material body, if our conception of ourself is Sukshma Deha Priti, that I'm a subtle body, then that's going to be it's going to be hoitiki bhajan. It's going to be bhajan with some motivation, and it's going to be sakapatya bhajan. It's going to be with some personal motivation. So in our last session, then we spoke about the importance of humility and how humility is reality. So how important that is, I want to contemplate a little further today. I'm trying to find this verse from there it is. So this is the identification that Bhaktivinoda Thakur indicates through the mouth of Haridas Thakur. That Haridas Thakur is telling the Lord, this is who I am. Amita. Amita means this is me. Amita Adama. I am fallen. Many people that they spend money sometimes. They go to Radhakund, they give money to a Babaji or someone to reveal this Swarup. Here you have it. Haridas Thakur says, this is my Swarup. Amita Adama. I am fallen. And I know who you are, Krishna. You're Tumi. Tumi is a way to address someone in a very affectionate way. He's not saying Apni. Apni would be saying sir. But he's saying Tumi. Tumi means, Toma means like my friend. But Tumi means like in a very, very, very intimate friend. Tumi Adamatana. You would not address a rickshawala as Tumi, for example, in Bengali. You would say Apni, sir. You would be respectful to him. Or maybe you might be a little bit affectionate, say Toma, but you wouldn't say Tomi. Tomi is a very intimate way to speak. I know who you are, Adamatarana. You're the deliverer of the fallen. That's your natural position. Yeah. Did I go off screen? No, looks like okay. To me, Adamatarana, he says, Ubaye Sambandha. Sambandha means our connection. Ubaye Sambandha. This is our connection, that I am fallen and you're the deliverer of the fallen. O Patita Pavan, O deliverer of the fallen. So this is the bridge that can cross the river from mundane religion to transcendental spirituality. It's the bridge of reality. It's the bridge of understanding who I am and accepting the bitter reality of my position. That's the beginning of it. And that's how we approach Guru. And there's a beautiful verse I'd like to share with you that I recited. In fact, I travel with this verse. It's written by a disciple, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, named Bhakti Deshika Charya Maharaj. He Dina Bhando Karunaika Sindho Karu Prasadam Mayumandanude Lakshaparadhe Bahupapa Gadhe Tatpada Padme Stumatishta Krishna. He says he's addressing his Gurudev in this way, that I know who you are. And in the same this verse also, he's addressing, I know who I am. This is our relationship. Ubaye Sambandha E, O Patita Pavan. Hey Dina Bandhu. Gurudev, you're Dina Bandhu. You're the friend of the fallen. You're Karunaika Sindhu. You're the ocean of mercy. So I'm coming and praying to you. Kuru prasadam mohimanda mudhe. Please give your prasadam, please give your mercy to this person who's mahimanda mudhe, who's a dull idiot, who's a dull fool. And what is my position? Lakshaparadhe bahupapa gadhe. He said, I've committed hundreds and thousands of offenses. Bahupapa gadhe. I'm full of all sins. So what do I want from you? Tatpada padme stu matishcha Krishna. Beautiful verse, full of very deep siddhanta. I want to always remember stu matishcha Krishna. I want to remember your lotus feet, Tatpada padme, and I want to remember the lotus feet of Sri Krishna. So I'll be able to do this. If I accept the bitter reality of first chapter of Vishad Yoga, I practice this Vishad Yoga. I take this poison, this Vish, Ada means to accept, the bitter poison of my reality, and I approach on that platform. And Haridas Thakur is saying here in Haridam Chintamani, Amita Adamatumi Adamatarana, Ubaye Sambandha. This is my connection with you. So this understanding of reality, of accepting the bitter reality of my fallen position and owning it, that's Niskapatya Bhajan. That's doing bhajan with no kapatya. Whereas if I approach the Lord and I say, oh, I love you, oh Gurudev, I love you. I hear so many Vyas Puja offerings like that. Oh Gurudev, I'm very fallen, I'm this, but I love you, you're my only hope. What is that love? Is it Sneha Man, Pranaya Rag, Anurag Bhav, Ruda Mahabhav, Adi Ruda Mahabhav, Modanaki, Madanaki. You don't just say I love you to a Gaudiya Vaishnava. What kind of love do you have? What is the nature of that love? Maybe I have a little shadow of some priti, which is affected because of my personal identification with the body. And because of that identification of myself, my love is going to be an expression of that. So if I have the sthula deha, then I have Sthula Deha Priti. If I'm thinking I'm this material body, then I think pizza is love, ice cream is love, sex is love, rock and roll music is love. And we'll go to a concert together, we'll go to a movie together, and that's love. And Sukshma Deha Priti means on a platform of subtlety that I think that love means some intellectual thing. And many devotees were on that platform that we think, oh, love means that I'm chanting Hare Krishna and I'm in the temple and I'm doing this thing for Gurudev. At best, that's kartavya buddhi, and I'm doing something out of some obligation for Gurudev. But it's not real love. It's not that you go to someone and say, I love you because I'm supposed to, because someone told me to. That's not real love. And you don't feel inspired to marry someone like that or be friends with someone like that. Real love is something spontaneous and pure. And Narottam Das Thakur is teaching us in this third and second verse of this third chapter. He said, I've never done real bhajan. It's very depressing. It's really an honest thing. I've never done real bhajan. So what is my hope? My hope is this prayer to Gurudev. My hope is that I practice this Vishad Yoga, the yoga of lamentation, the yoga where I admit, I own, I confess my fallen nature. Lakshaparadhe bahupapa gadhe. I'm so very, very fallen, but because I know you're Dina Bandhu, you're the friend of the fallen, you're Karunaika Sindhu, you're the ocean of mercy. I have faith in that. So therefore, that's my relationship. Ubaye Sambandha, Haridas Thakur says, this is my relationship with you. But if I don't own that, if I don't claim that, if I don't admit my fallen position, then I'm doing Sakapatya Bhajan. I'm doing bhajan with cheating. If I come to someone and say, I really love you, but I don't, I just love the way they look. I just love their money. I just love something for them. That's not love, and it's very distasteful. And we don't like someone like that. So we need to understand the amazing thing that Narottam Das Thakur is coming to give us. It's not enough for us just to chant 16 rounds, follow 4 regulated principles, go to Mangal Arati, and do those things. Narottam Das Thakur is saying here that I've never done real bhajan because the motivation that I have, because the identification that I have. But when I begin to understand, Amita Adama, that I'm fallen, to me Adama Tarana, you're the deliverer of the fallen. Ubaye Sambandha. This is our relationship, E Patita Pavan. And we understand that Krishna is manifested, as we were discussing in our last session, as Krishna Kripa Srimurti, as the embodiment of mercy. Krishna's mercy is Gurudev. And therefore, Bhakti Stu Bhagavad Bhakta Sangena Parijayate, the Brihanardiya Purana states that Bhakti comes from the Bhakta. Krishna Bhakti Janma Mula Hoya Sadhu Sangha. In Chaitanya Charitamrita it said, the birthplace of Krishna Bhakti is Sadhu Sangha. But what is that Sadhu Sangha? When Sanatana Goswami came to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, what was the first thing he told him? Did he say, well, here I am. I'm the personal secretary for the Nawab Hussain Shah. I know 12 languages. I'm learned in all the Vedas and Vedanta. I'm one of the greatest poets you'll ever meet. I come from a very exalted Sarasvat Brahmin family. Here I am. I want to, please accept me as your disciple. He didn't come to Mahaprabhu with that kind of resume. When we approach someone for a job, when we approach someone we want to get to know them, we come with a resume. We say, I went to school here. I come from this kind of family. I have this kind of education. I have this kind of interests and things. But Sanatana Goswami threw all that away. And he came and said, Ke Ami, who am I? That's honesty. I don't even know who I am. So in other words, when he's coming to Gurudev, He's giving up all of his upadhis, all of his designations. He's giving up the Stula Deha and the Sukshma Deha of understandings that I'm this gross physical body or I'm this subtle body. And he's coming to him like an idiot saying, I don't even know who I am. You please tell me who I am. So this is the same spirit of this verse and the verse of Haridas Thakur, that I here they're saying that I am very, very fallen. Lakshaparadhe Bahupapagadhe, I'm owning that. And therefore, I can always remember you because you're that person who's Dina Bandhu. You're the person who's going to deliver the fallen souls. My Guru Maharaj, therefore, he said so many times that your only qualification is your disqualification. This is Bishad Yoga, that if I own my disqualification. I remember going on Harinam with Sachinanda Maharaj somewhere in Germany. I don't remember the name of the city. It was the biggest city, I think, near to, or a big city near to Goloka Dham, 1 year after the Janmashtami program. And we were going to the city, and there was one beggar that we all passed. And this beggar was wearing rags, and he was sitting on the street. He wasn't sitting, he was on his knees. And everybody who would come by, this beggar had folded hands and was praying to them. And then the other times he was holding his hands out like this. And Sachinanda Maharaj later commented, we should pray like that. And although that person is praying like that, he's not getting bhakti. Why is he not getting bhakti? Sometimes we say that humility gives rise to bhakti. Sanatana Goswami was saying it in the last session. We read so many verses about that from Brihad Bhagavatamrita. But it's not that every beggar in the street, every person who's depressed, every person who's suicidal gets bhakti because they're a depressed person. That's alone not enough. It depends on our self-identification. And that self-identification comes when we begin to practice bhakti and we get the mercy of a devotee. My Guru Maharaj, he used to read some verses from Jagadananda Pandit's Prema-bhakti-candrika. Let's see if I can find these. Yeah. Which speak about this same matter. Let me show you these verses here. Go over these. Chit Kana Jiva Krishna Chinmaya Bhaskar Nitya Krishna Deki Krishna Korena Adar. So the living entities by nature were Chit Kana Jiva. We're infinitesimal, we're very small parts of Krishna. But we want to try to enjoy away from Krishna. Krishna Bahir Mukha Hana Bhoga Manchakori. We want to try to enjoy because we identify with the material body. And when we identify with that material body, then Maya takes us and we become a slave of Maya. Maya Grasta Jiva. We become the Maya Grasta. We become possessed like by a witch. Pisachi Paile. Pisachi means a witch. We become the slave of Maya. And we think in terms of ourselves and our body. And if there's any discussion of love, it's all based again on this Deha Priti, or at best maybe Sukshma Priti. So we go forgetting about that. Kata Bhule, Bhule means to forget. We forget that I'm Krishna's eternal servant. Maya Nafara. Nafara means a word, means slave. I was looking for this verse. That I become the slave of Maya. And Chiradina Buddha, I go from body to body. Kabu Raja, sometimes I'm a king, sometimes I'm a citizen, sometimes I'm a Brahmin, sometimes I'm a Sudra, sometimes I'm depressed, sometimes I'm happy, sometimes I become a worm and stool. Kiva Chitta Chudra. Kabu Swarge, sometimes I go to the heavenly planets. Kabu Marte, sometimes I take birth in the material world. This Manusha Lok, this place of men. Narakeva Kavu, sometimes I go to hell. Sometimes I'm a demigod, sometimes I'm a demon, sometimes I become someone's servant, sometimes I become a master. A Rupa Sansar Brahmite Konjan. So we're going throughout the universe in this way. And if by some good fortune, Sadhu Sangha, we come in contact with the devotee, the Nija Tattva of Agatahan. then we begin to understand our real identity. So this is what Sanatana Goswami means when he says, Kayami, and he comes from Mahaprabhu, I don't know who I am. This is such an important principle. I can't practice bhakti. Atashi Krishna Namadi Nabhaved Graham Indriya. I can't see it with my material senses. I can't remember Krishna with my material senses. But when I come in touch with the devotee, and I learn that actually I'm a spirit soul by the mercy of that devotee, Nija Tattva Jani, then when I understand this tattva, that who I am, our samsara nachai, the first thing that happens is I'm not attached anymore to this material existence. Has that come to us yet? We should think about it. Has that feeling come to us where I'm not attached to my family, my wife, my husband, my children, to pizza and ice cream and all these different sensory things? When we understand Nija Tattva Jani, our samsara nachai, then I can begin to do Niskapatya Bhajan that Narottam Das Thakur is speaking about in this verse. Kenava Bhajuna Maya Koya Kore Hoy Hoy. Then I begin to lament at that time. And this is the yoga of lamentation, Bishad Yoga, where we accept the poison, the bish of our situation. And we identify with that. We don't try to hide from that. Sakapatya Bhajan, or Bhajan with cheating, means when we try to impress someone. We come to the temple and we say, I'm a wealthy person. I'm an educated person. I'd like to become a Hare Krishna devotee. But real bhakti begins when we come and our identity is not with the external temporary body and dress that we've gotten with this body, but it comes when we identify with the terrible things that we've done. It's very paradoxical. And so what does he do then? At that time, he does what my Guru Maharaj called Atmakrandan, or the crying of the soul. Kende means to cry. Kende boli, then he begins to cry and cry. Oh, hey, Krishna Amitabha Das. Oh, Krishna, I'm your servant. This is Niskapatya Bhajan. This is Bhajan with no cheating, where I own, where I'm honest who I am. And I'm crying, oh, Krishna, Amitabha Das, I've heard from your servant that I'm your servant. But Tomar Charana Charu Haila Sarvanas, I forgot your lotus feet. I left the shelter of your lotus feet. And now I'm devastated. When we begin to pray like this, in this Niskapatya Bhajan, without any cheating, with great honesty, then Kripa Kori Krishna Tade Charana Samsara. Then Krishna immediately releases you from the samsara, from Maya. Krishna is so very, very merciful. So Krishna does that through Gurudev. When we have that when we approach Gurudev in this mood, and we approach Gurudev in a mood of honesty. Let's see, let's go back to this article by Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati this time. These are very, very deep principles. These are not things which are easily understood. But please think about it very, very deeply. It's such a very important thing. So now we've established several points. Let's look back. First point, we've established that according to the identity we have of ourselves, we're going to understand, we're going to think of love in that way. Love means pizza, love means ice cream, love means sex, love means chess, love means opera, love means this thing or that thing. But real love means bhakti. But Atashri Krishna Namadi Nabhaved Graham Indriya, I can't perceive that. But when by the mercy of Krishna, I meet Krishna's devotee, and I begin to interact with that devotee in an honest way. As Bhaktivinoda Thakur sings in his song Gurudev Kripa Bindu Diya. If you study that song, that song is all about what is Niskapatya Bhajan, what is bhajan without cheating. So he says here now The cognitive faculty of the individual soul can have no ground to stand upon. Our ability to perceive as a soul, we can't do anything unless the divinity, the Lord himself, condescends to be our legs as well as the ground on which we to stand to function at all. This function of the divinity is performed by the Guru. As a matter of fact, the divinity actually reveals him only to himself. The divinity only reveals him to himself. And then he says the individual soul is a separable constituent of the Guru. When we approach the Guru, we would take initiation from Guru. Gurudev gives us mercy. That soul becomes an inseparable constituent, a separable part of the Guru, because the divinity only reveals himself to himself. And it's only if we come on the platform of the service of Gurudev that we can perceive the divinity. So that happens when we get the mercy of Gurudev. Bhaktisiddhanta says it's only when that jiva happens to be associated by his own free will choice with the Guru in a completely dependent manner that he can be on the plane of the Guru's service of the divinity. Otherwise, we can't be on the plane of the Guru's service. Therefore, going back to the beginning of this paragraph from Srila Bhaktisiddhanta, he says, the Guru is the embodiment of the manifestation of the divinity. Okay, and that's big words, but the Guru is a manifestation of Krishna. He's the embodiment of that. He's a manifestation of Krishna's mercy, Krishna Kripa Shri mercy. Who does he appear to? The pure, receptive, spiritual essence of the disciple. He appears to that disciple who's practicing Niskapatya Bhajan, who's practicing Bishad Yoga, who's accepting the yoga of lamentation, who's crying, who's coming before Gurudev, Hey Dina Bandho, Karunaika Sindhu. Oh Gurudev, you're the friend of the fallen, you're the ocean of mercy. Kuru Prasada Mohimanda Mudhe. I'm please give mercy to me. I'm so very, very fallen. And you should know about me. This is my situation. I've done millions of offenses. I'm full of sins. Therefore, Krishna, let me always remember you in this way. This is my connection with you. Ubaye sambandha e patita pavan. According to the receptive spiritual essence, our receptive essence, the spiritual essence means our sincerity when we're being honest. If you approach someone and you want to marry someone and you tell them some lie, you say, I'm a corporate executive for Microsoft Computers, I own my own jet, I do this and that, and you lie. Sometimes people lie like that. They have a online forum for getting married, dating, and you tell so many lies in that forum. Someone may get excited. Oh, you sound like my friend. You sound like the perfect person for me. But the whole identity that you've portrayed to that person is a lie. So what the spiritual essence means is Vishad Yoga, and it has to be receptive. I have to be willing to take it. So the Guru, Bhaktisiddhanta goes on, is a real and original recipient of the truth. He's a real recipient of the truth. He's the original recipient of the truth, the person who's been given the truth. He communicates his knowledge to the disciple. But the disciple's too small a particle by himself to receive it. Because we're such a tiny jeev, we can't understand that bhakti. So he's enabled to receive it through the power of Guru. Only through the power of Guru. The Guru, as it were, takes the disciple by the hand and guides his every step on the plane of the absolute. It's a perpetual tutelage, a perpetual teaching on the part of the disciple, the perpetual tutelage, a perpetual learning of the disciple. It never stops. And he says it can be expressed in another way, that our cognitive faculty has no ground to stand upon unless the divinity condescends to be the legs as well as the ground in which we're to stand to function all. I've gone over this article probably half dozen times or more in our classes. I love it. It's so deep. It's so profound. And I've commented before, and I'm going to repeat it again today, that Our ability to perceive this, we can't, we have no ground. We can't have no ability unless the divinity agrees to be our legs, as well as the ground in which we're to stand to function. That's guru. And why legs and ground? The ground, it represents Sambandha Datta, who's our Diksha Guru, who's that personality who gives us our connection with Krishna. That's the ground. That's the foundation of everything for us. And the legs are Sambandha Datta. That's our Siksha Guru. The Guru, and oftentimes the Diksha Guru and the Siksha Guru are the same. The Siksha Guru is that person who teaches us how to walk, how to do that thing. So Krishna is agreeing, the divinity is agreeing to become the legs and the ground. And so the Guru is one of the associates of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And unless we have that connection with Gurudev, we can't have this connection with Krishna. So these are some of the thoughts that I've been having on this verse, which this verse, I found it very depressing. I have to confess that Narottam Das Thakur, who is an incarnation, is such in the Manjari, is such a great exalted personality. He's saying, Niskapati Nabhajina Toma, I never did bhajan of you. So what does this mean? Why is he saying this? Is he just trying to pick on us? Is he just trying to torture us? He's trying to wake us up. He's trying to say, okay, you've come to the Krishna conscious movement. You've come to the first few chapters of Prema-bhakti-candrika. That's nice. You've even accepted Rupa Goswami. You've accepted Gurudev. You've gone to Shri Guru Charana Padma. You're doing all these things. But still, you haven't come to the point of Niskapati Bhajan. You haven't come to the point of doing bhajan with sincerity, bhajan without any kapatya, without any cheating. We have to come to that point. And that Niskapatya bhajan is beginning when we realize how fallen I am, and we own that. And that ownership of that thing, it's glorious. It's a glorious thing. Amita Adama, this is who I am. I'm fallen. To me, Adamatar, and I know who you are. You're the deliverer of the fallen. But if we approach the Lord that Ami Shrestha Jana, I'm a very, very important person. I'm a very, very exalted person. Then what is the hope that we can approach the Lord? And therefore our acharyas have repeatedly, again and again and again, given us these prayers of humility. And I want to finish with one of my favorite prayers. This is a verse by Sanatana Goswami, which is quoted by Rupa Goswami in his collection of verses. Pajali, thank you. And it's also quoted in Bhakti Rasamrita, and it's quoted in Chaitanya Charitamrita. So you can look it up there. I don't remember where it's found in Chaitanya Charitamrita, but you can do a screenshot of this or something. Na prema shavanari bhakti apayavo yoga tava vaishnavo. He says, this is Sanatana Goswami. He's coming, he's saying, this is who I am. Na prema, I have no love. Not that, oh Gurudev, I love you. Oh Krishna, I love you. Na prema, I have no love. Shravanadi bhakti, I have no bhakti that's connected with Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu Smaranam, Padasevanam, etc. I never practiced bhakti. I've never practiced yoga, meaning not Ashtanga yoga or Hatha yoga, but I've never connected with you. I'm not a Vaishnav. Jnana va. I have no gyan. I have no knowledge. Subha karma va. I have no piety. Prabhupada, as we were commenting before, Prabhupada told Madhudvesa Prabhu, Madhudvesa approached him, Prabhupada, how do we understand this Vanashram? How do we practice this Vanashram? And Prabhupada asked him, he said, were you practicing Vanashram before you came here? And Madhudvesa said, no. And Prabhupada said, you did not come here because of practice of Vanashram. You have no Subha karma. Prabhupada, another place, had told the devotees, I created your good karma. So Subha karma, I don't, Vatkiyat, I don't even have a little bit of Subha karma. Sometimes we think, oh, I'm chanting so much. There's some hope for me because I have Subhakarma. I have this thing. I don't have anything. Huh? Such jati. I'm not born from a pious family. I'm born in a family of Yavanas and Malechas. So apyastadat hida, I don't have anything good. What is my hope? I have this one hope. Achidya mula sati, this mula, this root, which can't be cut. I have this one hope that, my dear Lord, you're hinartadika sadike, you're that person who gives mercy to the fallen, to the people who don't have any good qualities, who are approaching you in this mood of niskapatya bhajan. Hey gopi jana vallabha, vyatayate ha ha madhusayavama. This is my asha. This is my only hope that I have. And he's addressing Krishna as Gopinath, as Gopi Jana Vallabha. He's not approaching him as Lord Vishnu, who frees the sins of the conditioned souls, who gives liberation or anything. But he's approaching him as Gopinath, Gopi Jana Vallabha. That you please, that this thing is giving me this pain. Yatayate. Why is it causing me pain? Because I'm so fallen and you're so far away. So this is niskapatya bhajan. We have to give up complacency. We have to give up a comfortable life and just thinking that everything is okay. We have to practice bhakti in a very, very intense way. Ayendra Prabhu used to quote oftentimes this phrase from the first canto of the Bhagavatam. And the Sanskrit's not coming. Someone else may remember, but we have to practice very intense bhakti, very, very intense. And how does that intense bhakti come? That's by sincerity. But again, that sincerity is not just a switch. The sincerity comes from honesty, from recognizing reality where I am. And that reality begins when I have a connection with Gurudev. So I'm going to stop there. Let's go over this verse again from Narottam Das Thakur. Very depressing verse. It makes me very, very nervous. Okay. Tivrena Bhakti Yogin. I thought you would know that one very clear. And we used to quote that quite often. Tivrena Bhakti. Tivrena means very intense. Tivrena Bhakti Yogin. We have to practice very intense bhakti. Javat Janamam Mora. This is my life. This is a story of my life. As long as I've been here, Aparada Hoinabor. My life is just full of offenses. That's all. Nishkapati na bhajini toma. I've never really come and worshiped you with sincerity. It's always been sakapatya bhajan, cheating religion, cheating bhajan. I've never approached you and done nishkapatya bhajan. Tatapi hatumi gati. But still, I'm not going to give up. There's so many verses which come to my mind and so many statements that we could cite in this regard. We could do a whole seminar for weeks, I think, on the subject matter. It's practically unlimited. It's the essence of our Gaudiya Sampradaya. This is the link again. This is the bridge which crosses from mechanical religion to Raganuga Bhakti. When we begin to wake up and admit our fallen position. I've never really done bhajan. Tatapi ha tumi gati, but I'm not going to give you up. You're my goal. Nachadiha pranapati. Krishna, please don't reject me. Mui sama nahika adam. There's no one as fallen as myself. So we'll go ahead and stop there. And if anybody has any reflections or comments or anything, share this as a time. Okay. Maybe somebody has some Siddha Hari Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. Thank you, Prabhu. But I wanted to share an appreciation not only for this talk which you gave, which is superly amazingly filled with so many jewels and rupees, which it would take me some time to appreciate. But this morning we were having our morning reading together with the Harmony Collective group, and we read from your Krishna Katham to the Bindu, the edition for Lord Balram's Appearance Day. And it was so amazing. It was full of like all kinds of delicacies. There were like some stories, there was philosophy, Balram Tattva. So it was a wonderful treat for us to start our Balram Purnima festival here in Michigan. Thank you, Prabhuji, for your hard work and offering.
It's kind of, I have to confess something. There's two things. First of all, it doesn't belong to me. I'm doing it in the order of my guru. And the reason I'm doing it is because I'm very, very fallen. And I'm doing this service not because I'm a qualified speaker on Prema-bhakti-candrika. I realize all these things, and I'm the editor of Krishna Patamrita Bindu, and I have something to share with everybody. No, I want to get the blessings of the devotees. And I know that to get the blessings of the devotees, the best thing is to share some delicacies that we've got that belong to us. And thank you.
So although it's supposed to be a fast day, we did have a pizza cooked by Madhuranda Prabhu here in Michigan.
That's cool.
And Prabhu, I had a question, and something which I always wondered that, if somehow that one gets a vision of Krishna, then he's so beautiful, as we hear in the poetry composed by Rupa Goswami, that one would lose attraction for everything else. And then in the same sense, as we also hear that, as we're hearing that Guru has this nishkapana mercy, and there's a sakapana mercy, like, those who are trying to cheat him, they don't get that mercy. But then if Guru were to show his real mercy, which he really wants, he wants all his disciples to have love of God. Why doesn't he, give that nishkapana mercy causelessly and, like, hey, save me, I understand I'm fallen, but why not just give it away? And then once I become attached to it, I will realize that I'm fallen, why it has to be the other way around?
Somebody once asked a very similar question in my Guru Maharaj on an evening walk in Bhubaneswar, and I happened to be present. And my Guru Maharaj, he asked this question: why is it the Guru gives sakapatya kripa, or cheating? Why does he give kapatya? And my Guru Maharaj, he said it's not that Guru is consciously thinking that. That's the first thing. But Krishna is just acting through him, and he knows. And the reason Gurudev does that is to teach us. Sometimes, the parent teaches a child a good lesson, that fire will hurt you. Fire is dangerous. Don't play with fire. But the child just won't listen. The child doesn't learn. And so then the parents sometimes may say, well, here's some matches. Go ahead, have a good time. And then, or stick your hand in the fire. And the child sticks their hand in the fire. That's cheating. It's not real mercy, right? It's cheating. But it is mercy at the same time. Because by sticking your hand in the fire, you think, oh, I'll never do that again. So according to our adhikar, according to what we want, and therefore we have to be very careful. And therefore Sanatana Goswami, he didn't even say when he approached the Lord that I want bhakti, or I want this, or he wasn't. Sometimes we think I should be very careful when I approach Guru Maharaj to only ask for bhakti. But Sanatana Goswami didn't ask for bhakti when he first approached him. He came, the first thing he says, Kayami, I don't know who I am. Because if I ask you for bhakti, then it's going to act, then that's implying that I know so much and I'm on some elevated platform, and I'm not. So this is Niskapatya Bhajan, to approach with honesty, that I don't even know who I am or what I should do. Therefore, my Guru Maharaj commented sometimes that we should, the one question we have a right to ask our Guru is, how can I serve you? How can I please you? Because Shushu Shoshadadana Vasudeva Kataruchi Sham Mahat. That is, it's by this Mahat Kripa that we get by serving Gurudev that we'll begin to understand bhakti. So we approach him that way, and we approach in an honest way. If I'm staying right now in a place you've never been, probably called Debrecen in Hungary. I want to go to Jagannath Puri, but I can't just decide that okay, now I'm in Jagannath Puri. Now I'm in Jagannath Puri. I decided I want to go. I don't like Debrecen. I'm going to go to Jagannath. No, there's a journey, and that journey begins with accumulating money. The journey begins even before accumulating money. The journey begins with trying to figure out, where do I want to go? What should be my destination? That's Kayami. And then I have to get money to, then I find out, oh, I need to go buy a ticket. I want to go to Jagannath Puri and cost so much money. Then I have to collect the money. And I have to figure out what is that money, because if I try to pay them here in Budapest, I try to fly and I give them Indian rupees, they're not going to accept it. You have to know, what is the currency? What is that currency of bhakti? And then it's a journey, and that journey is going to help me. Whereas if it's in my imagination, I just try to jump to Jagannath Puri, I can't do it. And I'm not really there. It's just in my imagination. It's just some mental activity. The journey is so very, very important. And that begins wherever we are. Is that helpful?
Yes, Prabhu. Very helpful. Thank you, Prabhu.
It's always nice to see your smiling face today.
Thanks, Prabhu.
Anybody else want to share anything? Mataji?
Thank you for
Speak loudly.
Thank you for wonderful katha. I have one question which is not connected with directly to your lecture from today. It is from tomorrow. This morning we were reading Chaitanya Charitamrita, and in the purport, Srila Prabhupada is saying, who is not preaching Krishna consciousness is envious of others. Can you more elaborate? It hits my heart, but I'm still, trying to understand it deeper.
Right. So first of all, I've done book distribution for many, many years. And I'm sorry to say, and I think any book distributors here will agree with this by your experience, that there's been many devotees, myself included, who are envious when we went out to do book distribution. Sometimes we saw people and we just think, that guy looks disgusting. Or this woman is a Maya Devi. And we'd feel some hatred or envy towards someone. So in a simple way, I can't preach unless I do it. So preaching doesn't just mean going out and distributing books. And maybe even I've learned how to hustle people. I've learned to some good mantras. Excuse me, sir, you're from here, from out of town. We're passing these out to everybody. You get one today. It's your lucky day. It's not just that I learned to hustle someone, but it's a quality of compassion. And therefore, Bhakti-Sandarbha describes, Jiva Goswami says that Krishna's mercy is through his devotees. And when we approach Gurudev and we get the mercy of Gurudev and we become on the platform of Gurudev, we can experience the mercy of Gurudev, which is done through this honesty, through this Bishad Yoga. Then we can become a recipient of his mercy. Then we can give that mercy to others. But if we try to do it on a material platform, and the material platform is a platform of envy, we're always seeing different people. Or you an ISKCON devotee, or you Gaudiya Math? Oh, I don't like Gaudiya Math devotees. Or you're an ISKCON devotee, who are you initiated by? Oh, I'm sorry, I don't like your guru. I like this other guru. We have so many designations. You're from Russia. I hate Russians. You're a black body person. I hate blacks. This and that. We have so much envy coming from bodily identification in this material world. And because of that, we can't get that mercy from Gurudev. And without getting that mercy, we can't give it. And getting that mercy means that we give up envy. And it may be in the act of happening. We still have some envy because we still have material desires in our heart. We're still identifying with the material body. That's some envy, but it's proportionate. And to the extent, to the degree that we're free from that envy, that we can understand, then we can give mercy to other people. But if I'm very, very envious, then I won't even want to go out and book distribution. No, forget it, Prabhu. Those people are all hogs, dogs, camels, and asses. They're all Maya. They're meat eaters. I'm not going to go talk to them. They're disgusting. That's envy, and I can't even approach them. But when I understand my own self as being very fallen and not worthy of the mercy that I've gotten, then I can begin to do that. Is that helpful?
Yes, thank you.
Thank you. It's a beautiful question. Vikram Keshavu, while we have your beautiful face here too, do you have any reflections you want to add or anything?
Something about Guru Tattva. You were speaking a lot today in some other kathas. And I want to hear your thoughts, how a devotee can help himself or maybe other devotees in situation where one spiritual master leave the movement. For example, if he's sannyasi, he married, or maybe he do some other nasty things and end up in a jail. I'm asking this as a person, actually, I want to hear your thoughts, although this happened to me and my wife. As the kids, we were really young and ran from the school and from home and joined the temple. And later we were initiated by Harikar Swami. And he left. And Satchidananda Maharaj immediately saw this and accepted us. So even 25 years that happened ago, I cannot say that I'm completely relaxed. So I wanted maybe to hear something about this.
It's a big subject, and I have to confess, first of all, that I joined the temple in 1982, maybe around the same time as you, I suspect, a little after or before you. And I was initiated by the zonal acharya there. And he very kindly gave me initiation, but after some time he had some problems and he went away and stopped practicing. But I think you and I have something in common, that we never felt that Guru was gone. Because if we feel that Guru is gone, and I have friends and you have friends too, I know, who felt that Gurudev is gone now, and then they left also, because they felt there was no connection. Because Gurudev is our Sambandha Datta. He's a giver of our connection. He connects us with the Sampradaya. Guru is both a person and a principle. And this is not just my own idea, but if you do look in the folio, Prabhupada speaks quite often about the principle of Guru. And just like we give an example, this is Bhakti Rupa Prabhu's example, I like very much, of a bank teller. You go to the bank and you open up an account through a person. That person gives you a connection with the bank. That person is like, and you make friends with him. His name's Max, and you go and visit him sometimes. And hey, Max, how's it going? How's my account? And here's some more money to put into it, and this and that. And that teller is your connection with the bank. Now, if that teller quits his job, or if the teller gets fired from his job, it doesn't mean that you don't have a bank account. You still have an account. So Srila Prabhupada, he had different disciples who were acting on his behalf, some of them more purely than others, but they were acting on Prabhupada's behalf, and they were giving what Prabhupada came to give. We don't have to be esoteric and very subtle about this. In a simple way, they gave the Hare Krishna mantra, they gave Srimad Bhagavatam, they gave Prasadam, they gave all the good things that Srila Prabhupada gave. And that was our connection, not just with that guru who may have left, but with Srila Prabhupada and with our Sampradaya. And we felt that, and I'm sure you felt that. And that's why I'm still here today. I didn't leave, although many people left. I still felt this connection. It was never a question to me to leave. But so many of my godbrothers did leave because they identified everything with that particular guru. But Guru also, he's serving as a function, but he's also a person. And after he left, I had some crisis of faith because I thought, well, this is my personal, and I'm relating to you now, that I was chanting the Guru Gayatri. And who do I meditate on? Do I meditate on Srila Prabhupada? I don't have a personal connection with Prabhupada. Do I meditate on my fallen guru? I don't. How can I do that? That's not inspiring. So I think for some time I meditated on Prabhupada as my Param Guru. And then when I started coming in contact with my Guru Maharaj, first through some recordings and things, and then meeting him, I started meditating on him as a Vaishnava, because I thought it's not legal I don't have a formal relationship with him. I have not been accepted by him, but still he's a kind of guru for me that I'm learning from him, but he's a Vaishnava. He's more like a Siksha guru right now. And so I would meditate on him in that sense. And then later I went to him and I wanted to have that mantra again from him. That's a controversial thing. I'm very much against rape. Rape is one of the most horrific things someone can do to another person. And it's not just physical rape, it is also spiritual rape. Spiritual rape means when you force someone to do something against their will. That's rape. So if we try to insist that, Prabhu, your guru fell down, therefore you must get initiated again. You must. That's rape. I have no right to insist what you must do, or to say that you should never get initiated again, that you already have that connection. Sometimes devotees also say that, and there's some truth in that you already have a connection. You only have one mantra guru. It's not necessary to become initiated again. We can have someone as a Siksha guru. And my Guru Maharaj had a number of disciples, one or two of which were his personal servants sometimes, who were very close with him, who never took mantra from him. Rather, they were initiated by someone else. In some cases, that person was fallen. But they had a strong relationship with Guru Maharaj. I personally approached my Guru Maharaj in a certain way, and I wanted this connection through mantra, and he agreed to give that to me. That was my personal choice. And I spit in your face. I'm sorry, if some manager comes to me and says, this is wrong, or you should do like this or that, I spit in your face. Excuse my non-humility. This is my choice. Don't rape me. Don't try to force me. This is my choice, how I want to lead my life, who I want to take initiation from. If I feel I need initiation again because I don't have faith in the initiation I had previously, or if I feel it's not necessary, but I have a strong Siksha relationship with someone, that's my choice. And we should be very firm about that. So it's a big subject. We could say a whole lot about it, about who's qualified and who's not, and this and that. So many things. This is a very simple look at it. Is that helpful, Prabhu? It's very heartfelt. Thank you for sharing that. I know it's something very painful. When I went through that with Rameshwar, Prabhu, it was just like my life was destroyed. You can imagine, because your guru is your everything. And really, we felt maybe it's based some love based on some bodily identification or subtle identification. We felt we had some love for him. We had some identification with him. And when we went away, a lot of my godbrothers, they went away too, because their identification was something bodily. And they didn't see past their guru. They didn't see to Prabhupada. They couldn't see to the disciplic succession to Krishna consciousness. They only saw the connection with that body, with that particular person. So thank you for staying, Prabhu. I really appreciate it. And thank you for sharing the story. You guys, how old were you when you joined then?
I met devotees when I was 14.
14. That's why you two are so pure, my God.
But we didn't have temple at that time, so I had to wait for 4 years to go to the temple.
What year was that?
It was 1987.
That's very beautiful. Sachinanda Maharaj also, I think in Germany, is 16 or 17 or something. You see the devotees who joined at a very young age, there's some purity there.
Yeah, it's good to join as soon as possible before things.
Stuff happens. I didn't join until I was 21.
Thank you.
So let's see here. Gorni Prabhu, you had your hand up, I think. Did you want to share something?
Hare Krishna. Thank you very much for all this nice katha. I have also some similar questions like Prabhuji had about the Guru Tattva. I have a very nice godbrother, and recently he got the service of initiating devotees. Also, his spiritual master asked him, and I'm just thinking how to say this, how to become like him, what is the quality by which he received such a mercy, such a trust. So what I should do to become the same, not because I want to compete, but I want to serve my Guru Maharaj fully. So how I become like him? What is the quality which I need to focus on? Maybe this humbleness, maybe this nishkapata, that's I'm thinking this is connected. But can you speak about what happens when a guru sees his disciple is, so what quality is the main point?
Well, you know, Gwani Prabhu, I know, I might know who you're talking about. I probably do. You have a lot of God brothers and God sisters. Some of them are very learned, and some of them have done big services. And some of them, the learned ones, and some of the ones who've done big services in terms of management or whatever, they've gone away. So what quality does this devotee, or actually I know a couple of your God brothers who have that service from the Guru, what quality they have? Someone may say they have knowledge, someone may say that they have humility, someone may say that they have sincerity. I would suggest that the quality that they have is they've gotten the Guru Maharaj's mercy. So how we get that mercy may be different with different devotees. And someone may just take care of the cows. And they may be a very, very simple person like Padmapad. Padmapad was a disciple of Shankaracharya. And one day Shankar was giving special mercy to all of his disciples. And he looked around and he asked everyone, oh, where is Padmapad? And the devotees, they said, oh, Guru Maharaj, that guy, he's on the other side of the river. He's useless. Prabhupada didn't know Sanskrit. He wasn't a scholar. He wasn't a pundit. He was just taking care of the cows and things. But Shankar loved him. And Shankar then he called out from him, hey, come. And when that devotee heard that his Guru Maharaj was calling for him, he came running and he crossed the river. Suddenly lotus flowers appeared as he was crossing, and he was under his feet. He was like walking on the waters, walking on lotus flowers. And before he got the name Padmapad because of that. So his qualification, our qualification, our only qualification is the mercy of our Gurudev. And how we've gotten that mercy may differ from different devotees. Someone may just be taking care of the cows. Someone else may be, and they may be very simple and non-shastric, but they're very sincere. And someone else may be a big manager. Someone else may, but not shastric. Someone else may be a big pundit. But those qualities by themselves, it's not just that taking care of the cows or doing management or learning Shastra is going to give us the mercy of Gurudev. It's our sincerity that Gurudev is looking for. And by that, he'll give us that mercy. And the real thing that I see in the comments that you've made is that your Guru Maharaj, what's the important thing is your Guru Maharaj said, I want you to do this. So sometimes when people say, you know, oh, someone should be Guru, we comment that two things are required. Aqua, the Latin word aqua means water in Spanish and Latin. But aqua is two things. It means authorization and qualification. Even if I have qualification in some way, if I don't have authorization, if my Gurudev hasn't come and said, no, you do this, how can I do it? On the other hand, even if I have authorization, if Gurudev comes and says, you do this, then and I don't have qualification, and I'll say, Gurudev, please give me the qualification also, because your mercy is all that I have. I have to have your mercy in that way. And this is what Bhaktivinoda Thakur teaches us in the song Gurudev. Is that helpful, Gonita?
Yes, very much. Can I have another question?
Okay.
Short. So I read Chaitanya Charitamrita, Anjalila, chapter 3, when Lord Chaitanya got initiation, and then he misguided, and he reached Advaita Acharya's house, and there was a 10 days or quite long period when every night they have a long kirtan. And there, Srila Prabhupada in one purpose is brought that these 3 hours of kirtan we need to copy, we need to follow. That makes us Krishna conscious. So, but I don't see that 3 hours kirtan in every day in our movement happening. So, is it the ideal which you maybe try to come closer and closer, or in some other way we can have these 3-4 deep hours at evening to get the same result as Prabhupada wanted?
Why not strive for that? If we go to the full morning program and the full evening program, that's about 3 hours of kirtan, I think, a day. If Prabhupada wanted us to do that, why not try that? At the same time, as you correctly pointed out, sometimes it's just not practical. And I don't think Srila Prabhupada himself was always doing 3 hours of kirtan. Definitely not later on in his manifest pastimes when he was manifesting being sick, laying on the bed, not going to the temple programs or anything. He wasn't doing kirtan for 3 hours a day necessarily. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati instructed that all the devotees should chant 1 lakh. There's a big misunderstanding about that, and I comment on this often. You may have heard what a lot of devotees in ISKCON don't know, and I've heard this. I've had the good fortune of meeting 5 or 6 different disciples of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta, and a few of them were very affectionate to me. And I heard from them that the vast majority of devotees who were initiated by Srila Bhaktisiddhanta were chanting 4 rounds a day, not 64, not 8, not 16, but 4 rounds a day. Now, but how do we understand then what Srila Prabhupada said about 64 and what Srila Bhaktisiddhanta said? It was considered in the Gaudiya Mat by Srila Bhaktisiddhanta that the devotees, first of all, they should be chanting constantly, whatever service they're doing, with their hands off the beads perhaps, but they're cooking, they're doing book distribution, they're doing construction, they're doing cleaning the temple, but whatever they're doing, they're chanting constantly. And he considered that while they were doing that, if they're doing constant service and constantly chanting, that came out to more than 64 rounds a day. So I would suggest like that why not do 3 hours of kirtan a day, go to the morning program. But if we can't do that, then try to chant constantly. And that'll come to more than 3 hours a day, I think. Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Let's see, Manish Prabhu, do you want to share something?
Hey, Hare Krishna Prabhu. Thank you for the beautiful discourse. I had one comment and then one question afterwards. The comment being, as you were talking about the CV and how you present yourself to Sri Guru, it became quite clear, or I should say it was a realization that this path that we're on is actually very delicate. And sometimes even within our own temple community, doing things such as Bhakti Vaibhav, Bhakti Shastri, getting these so-called accolades could sometimes even be detrimental, because you think, oh, I've completed this course now. I know a little bit about Bhagavad Gita. And immediately it's almost, it's so subtle that you're beginning to disqualify yourself from the idea that I'm not qualified to do, or I have no qualification, or that I'm the most fallen. So I just found that so interesting. Just how subtle these influences can be. And then it made me remember, I was reading when Good Fortune Arises, and I remember toward the end, there was a brief subject about flattery and how, Guru Maharaj doesn't want people who are constantly flattering them, and equally as devotees, we shouldn't be surrounded by people that are constantly flattering us. And it just clicked into place. Like, it was just so sweet. So thank you for that, that CV kind of accolade idea. The question I had was, as I was reading on the airplane today on the way back from Spain, that under the Prema Tattva chapter, there's this heading called "The World Exists on Prema," and I think it ends with the comment here that the Sajjavasta goal is Prema. Our marching is towards Prema. If we're not marching towards Prema, you will glide down to hell. What I wanted to reconcile was, how do we approach Guru in a way that you want Prema? The reason we've joined this movement is because we've seen something tangible. You've either seen someone practice, or you felt someone inspired, or you've got some faith or some shraddha that you want to take this step and go closer. How do you do that in such a way that actually you even know you're going along the right goal? I appreciate you've got to have implicit faith in your guru and not necessarily ask the questions like, give me bhakti, for example. No, but how do you keep that goal in mind and at the same time not disqualify yourself?
Several things I would suggest. First of all, Srila Prabhupada, he stressed introspection. Many times he said that we should be introspective. We should always be thinking. And if we do look at ourselves in an introspective way, we can see that our problems usually come because we're not introspective. That's when we become mechanical. So it's very important that we're introspective. And as my Guru Maharaj commented elsewhere, he said that Krishna likes confessions. We should confess to Krishna, but we confess to Krishna through Gurudev, not just through anybody, not just that we post something on the internet. I fell down, I broke the regulated principles yesterday, I want to tell everybody about it. That's not going to help. Rather, what would happen sometimes when devotees do something like that is some people think, well, it's okay, he broke the principles and did, but I can also do like that too. We have to approach someone that we trust in a very confidential way, and that someone is Guru. And we have to live in reality. And that's Vishad Yoga we've been speaking about. So we'll get the mercy of Guru, we'll get the mercy of Krishna. Krishna will send us Guru according to our sincerity. It may take some time. A friend of mine wrote a book about Prabhupada's godbrother, Bhajan Maharaj. Very interesting book, how he met Srila Bhaktisiddhanta. At one point, he had gone to Benares, and someone took him there to meet what do you call this guy's, a Bhrigu Pandit. You may know what a Bhrigu Pandit is. It's someone in the line of Bhrigu Muni. They have these books, and you walk in, and they've never met the guy before, doesn't he? And you come in, and maybe he says, oh, you're such and such, and your question is this. Read something from the palmative thing. And he knew Bhajan Maharaj before, and Bhajan Maharaj had some problems with Srila Bhaktisiddhanta before finding him. And this Pandit told him, because you committed some offense to your Guru in a previous life. So it's not just by our sincerity alone that we'll meet Guru, because we see some people, they're very sincere, but they don't meet Guru right away. Perhaps in a previous life they did some offense. There's a wonderful sadhu that I know of who was chanting 3 lakhs a day at one point. I can tell you many stories about this ISKCON devotee, amazing devotee living in Vrindavan now, Mataji actually. And she's had, I think she's on her 3rd guru or something now in ISKCON. And some pundit, someone told her the same thing, that in your previous life you did some offense. She's one of the most realized persons that I've met, very, very advanced devotee. It's not that we can judge just by who someone's guru is. And on the other hand, there was one devotee who came to Prabhupada, and he was a close associate of Prabhupada. He traveled with Prabhupada. He did very intimate service. And then at one point he came to Prabhupada and said, Guru Maharaj, please bless me. I want to go find a bona fide guru because you're not bona fide. And he rejected Srila Prabhupada. So it's not just a question of who you take initiation from, or you have physical proximity with. It's not such a simple thing that we can, I really don't like it when we try to judge other people's sincerity or motivations by some external thing. There's so much more that we can't see, maybe from a previous life or whatever. So anyway, when we're sincere, Krishna will send us Krishna desires. And all we can do is just cry and cry, pitifully, oh Krishna, maybe I committed some offense. Maybe I was initiated in my previous life and I offended Sadhu Guru. But please, please help me. Show me how I can overcome that offense. Show me how I can again become the Guru.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for reminding me, Guru Maharaj. Anybody else with any reflections or anything you want to share? I saw Natalia had her hand up. I don't know if she's still here. Yeah. Would you like to share something, Natalia?
Yes. Thank you very much. It is like coincidence, maybe, I don't know, Krishna, but everything in Krishna hands. I was chanting today with this mood that how long, I do everything I can and I cannot move even an inch, even one. Just all the same reality, like nothing happens. I just had this question really today. And, yes, so and but also I had like some years ago I had got some mercy from senior devotees and some realizations, and I was not maybe ready for that, and then now I have such a feeling because like if somebody gives this mercy, this kripa, just without this understanding of real situation, it goes, it is not so maybe valuable. I don't know, maybe a person diminishes this value, or maybe thinks that it is not real, it is not truth. Many individuals were like met Krishna in person, but they did not realize that he is Krishna, he is the Lord. And so this only when we, and also I remember in many teachings of Gorgovinda Swami, there is like Guru comes, and real Guru comes when there is real need in the heart, and we are crying, and we are crying for this mercy, and then we appreciate it. Not then. So I thank you very much. It is just really answer to my need today.
If we just follow Srila Prabhupada's program, and sometimes we think, oh yeah, in the temple program, and you know, I'm over that. That's for neophytes, so it's not so important. But if we just follow Prabhupada's program, do the best that we can. Bhagavatam class every day, associating with devotees, doing services, especially doing kirtan and hearing Srimad Bhagavatam, then eventually we're going to hear appropriate things. And if we keep doing this and associating with devotees, we'll end up sooner or later, by Krishna's mercy, associating with more advanced devotees. Someone once asked my Guru Maharaj, they said that Maharaj, you always speak about crying for Krishna, but how do we cry for Krishna? And Guru Maharaj once in South Africa, when they asked him that, his reply was that it's just like at a funeral. You're walking down the street and there's a funeral and everybody's crying. And you don't know the person who died, but you're so moved by their feelings that you also start crying. So he said, in that way, when we associate with people who are crying for Krishna, we'll also cry. But we've seen, and you know, that if we associate with people who are crying for position, I want to become important. I want everybody to respect me. I want a big position in ISKCON. And where some people are practically crying for that, then it'll come to you, and you'll also want to have a position. You'll think that's the most important thing. So we should associate with devotees who are serious about doing Bhajan, serious about crying, serious about doing service for the Guru's pleasure. Thank you, Natalia. Lila Purushottam Prabhu, do you want to share something?
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Yes, I was first thing I had a thought on when you mentioned this typical Christian, "Oh Lord, please give us our daily bread," and we
Let's give us our daily pizza.
we usually use it with the context of like making the how to say, like, comparison to the purity of the Vaishnava's conception of devotional service, that we don't ask God, we rather are concerned how to serve God. And Srila Prabhupada used that example also many times. But I was just recently, actually, I've got to hear one Christian, someone, preacher, and it was quite interesting. He was explaining it that we shouldn't understand it in the like with the self-profit mentality, like, oh God, give me this, give me that. But rather what came out to me was that it reminded me of our conception of Goptritve Varanam Tata, that we are learning to understand the Lord as our only maintainer. So he was explaining, like, we will not advise you to pray, oh Lord, give me Lamborghini, give me this, that. But if we express it by that term, give us our daily bread, meaning like, it's anyway only you who can give us the daily bread. There is no one else who can give us the daily bread. So I was quite surprised and like positively turned in my opinion on that phrase, that even them Christians can understand it very nicely, very purely, with proper pure devotional mentality. Actually, it doesn't have to be exploiting mentality, like I will demand on God whatever them needs I have. But he was explaining it like that it's like a basic necessity of life, and as such you make it like it's almost made the impression using it as a mantra, or like self-affirmation, like it is God who's giving us our daily bread. It's the credit goes to him. So I like very much that. So I wanted to share that to that.
When we say bread, also bread just means our sustenance. And that's a beautiful way to put it. Give us, our Lord, a daily bread. Give us, maintain us, and that's going to be according to however you want. And I may say, God, I really need a Lamborghini. How am I going to live without a Lamborghini? But maybe the Lord sees that actually, a bullet cart will work just fine. And you may have that, and you may be a lot more of a humble person. So that's a beautiful point. I like that very much, that expression of that prayer. So we can see implicit in that a lot of deeper things than we oftentimes subscribe to it.
Yeah, like, because we are very much used to use it as a like mental or intellectual stimulation of difference between the pure devotional mentality and
nasty Christians.
And also I really like the term I don't know if it was bridge of reality or bridge to reality, but that was really good terminology. And I was thinking, like, even as you summarized the whole thing and we went through the verse again, so you again mentioned like that Narottam is trying to wake us up to reality with that verse, to today's verse, I mean. So I was thinking like that's like that bridge to reality that we can face through Narottam's mercy. He can show us the reality, actually. So that was nice. And I had one question, that because I also love so much this Sri Chaitanya and his associates. Was this one? This one was that part dealing with the Guru Tattva. It's just mind blowing. And I was reading it like hundreds of times actually, and trying to really go like word by word. And actually probably the most difficult part for me always was that divinity reveals himself only to himself. It was such a puzzle. And today you helped so much, and I want to confirm now whether I got it right, or if it's like, if it's correct, that it expresses, because what continues then is that the disciple is the constituent, separable constituent, separable constituent. So I was thinking, is it the Sharanagati on the part of the disciple, that he's willing to accept himself as only as the separable constituent of the Guru, that Guru acts through him, executes his will to please the Lord, to serve the Lord through the disciple, and thus he's like, in that sense, he's becoming, like, if I say so, in like non-different from the Guru. In a sense, he doesn't consider himself independent on the will of the Guru. And thus, one can say that the divinity reveals himself only to himself, meaning the divinity will be revealed to the disciple only if the disciple considers himself to be separable constituent. Is that the way to understand it?
That's one. Let me share with you two verses from Chaitanya Charitamrita, which they're famous verses, which are found in Gaudiya Kantahar, I believe. I've heard many Gaudiya Vaishnavas quote them, and I suspect Srila Bhaktisiddhanta was referring to these particular verses. So this is Chaitanya Charitamrita, Anchalila, chapter 4.
Yeah.
Text 192. Diksha Kali Bhakta Kori Atma Samarpana. So he's saying that at the time of initiation, Diksha Kali is a time, the devotee who's Atma Samarpana, who's fully surrendered, say Kali Krishna Tadi Kori Atma Sam. Krishna accepts that devotee to be as good as himself. Okay. And then in the next verse, it goes on, say Deha Kori Tar Chidanandamoy, a Prakrita Dehi Tar Narcharana Bhajoy. That then that body of the devotee who's fully surrendered to his guru, Deha Koritar Chidanandamaya, it becomes fully transcendental. And on that platform, when his body becomes fully transcendental, then he can render service to the Lord. And prior to that, he can't. So we may say that at the time of initiation, someone becomes as good as the Lord. but that's not the entire verse. He's saying Atma Samarpan, minor class, not just initiation, but when we also completely surrender to Gurudev, then Krishna considers that person to be as good as himself, and that person can really render service.
Yeah,
So therefore, Bhaktivinoda, my grandma used to often quote Bhaktivinoda's comment, which I think is in Jaiva Dharma, that the Swarup Lakshana, or primary quality of a Vaishnava, is Saranagati, is surrender.
yeah. Yeah, good. That's wonderful, Praman. Actually, I know that verse, but that's a good connection because it directly mentions actually Atma Samarpan. It's like Sharanagati. It's quite a synonymic. Perfect. Not wonderful. And also, I want to thank you for that interpretation. Also, really very much helped with specifically that part dealing with Guru Tattva, that ground and legs, like as you explained, that the ground would represent the Diksha Guru and the legs Shiksha Guru. It makes also very much sense in connection with the beginning of Adi Lila, the Chaitanya Charitamrita, as like Guru Krishna Rupa and Shiksha Guru Svarupa. So it's also very much connected to these terms. Like
Guru Bhakti-siddhanta is such a genius, isn't he? He's so
amazing, like the words he's using and why he's using them, even in such a language as English. It's amazing. Like I'm always fascinated with Rupa Goswami's, like you analyzing his using of Sanskrit terms, but Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati used in the same way the English language, actually, in the same like approach to the language. It's amazing. Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Anybody else want to share anything? It looks a little bit cold where you're at. Is it Lila Purushottam where you get your jumper?
Yes. Probably at your place also it got colder, right? Right?
Yeah, the weather changed here. It's a little.
Yeah. It's not really nice weather these days. It's raining a lot, and then the temperature went like 10 degrees lower. Actually, it's
A low pressure system.
yeah.
Okay. So thank you all very much. Krishna, do you want to share anything?
I'm still digesting.
Okay.
For me, one of the key things was this motivation and.
Can you come over? You don't have to be in the camera, but at least come closer so they can pick you up from the microphone.
Okay, I'm right here.
Okay.
That for me, these two key words were motivation and identification. And how you said that if we don't own our disqualification and we haven't done real bhajan yet, it's kind of, as you said, it's very depressing. Very depressing. And when you said that this is kind of the borderline, Vishad Yoga is kind of the borderline between Sadhana Bhakti and Raganuga Bhakti. I said, well, yeah, Raganuga Bhakti means some feelings. So if we are devastated, that's a feeling. So that's a good start. I don't know. I don't want to just go on. I'm just saying that I'm still digesting.
Okay, thank you. Nice comments. I really appreciate it. Lila Purushottam, do you have something else you want to share?
Yeah, maybe I will have to reveal my dullness now, because you mentioned at one point that you want to discuss today the question, what is sincerity? And I'm afraid I still don't have the like one sentence answer or something like that, like definition, like what is sincerity?
Sincerity is when we own our faults, when we accept the reality.
Mm-hmm.
That's real sincerity. And real sincerity doesn't just mean that I go out and distribute 1 million books, or I chant 1 million rounds, or I do this thing or that thing. those are exhibitions of sincerity. You're not going to be able to distribute 1 million books probably unless you have some sincerity or chant 1 million rounds. But it begins with this Bishad yoga. That's the beginning of it. When we accept the bitter reality and embrace that. And therefore, Sanatana Goswami, a beautiful verse we finished with, Prema-bhakti-candrika to the Vaishnava. I'm not a Vaishnava, I have no love, I have no sadhana bhakti, I have no knowledge, I have no this, I have no that. All that I have is this hope. And that hope comes.
And there was this last thing, although it's very painful. I was with that.
Then we feel some pain. If we can't understand where Krishna's at, it's Gopi Jana Vallabha. It's not just that, again, it's the Vishnu, but Gopi Jana Vallabha with the gopis and the Rath Leela and this and that, and how far away that is from me. Now Prema Shravanati Bhakti Rapi, have nothing. Then we feel some intense pain, but we have this hope that, my dear Lord, you're there, you're Dina Bandhu, your Karanaika Sindhu.
Yeah. That was beautiful verse, actually.
Okay. Well, I look forward to seeing you tomorrow evening.
I'm looking forward so much.
What's tomorrow evening?
Well, we're hoping that you're going to jump on a plane and you're going to come to Czech Republic. You don't have to get there until Friday. But Friday afternoon, we're going to start Balaram's Appearance Day program at the house at Lila Purushottam.
We expect you, Siddhari.
Yeah, actually, Siddhari, I'm sorry to tell you, but if you don't show up, I think the devotees are going to be they're going to be hurt. They're going to feel really terrible.
Yeah. You have your room here reserved.
I hope we have a live feed for that, for the lecture too. We can join from here.
Yeah, we will try. Yeah, we will be trying to.
What time would it be at, Prabhu?
Oh, it's tomorrow, Friday. It's gonna be 5 p.m. CET, Central Europe time. That means you have the Eastern time, or no, you have Eastern. So it's -6 hours.
Today we started our kata at 4 p.m. Central European time. So it'll start an hour later.
Perfect, that will work. That's in daytime here.
Yeah, whatever time you started, whatever time you came online today, it'll be 1 hour later.
Okay, wonderful.
Prabhu, sorry, but Saturday we need Siddhari, so I'm gonna have to deny his access to travel. Yeah, but the possibility of you going to Czech and then come back by Saturday is very unlikely, because Saturday is the first football Harinam of the year, football game Harinam. So we need Siddhari because he's the stalwart. He's the main man.
The main. Yeah, everybody loves you so much, Siddhari Prabhu. What we should do, you could at least just send us an envelope with some fingernails. Then we can clone you. And we'll make Siddharis Prabhu all over the world, and everybody will love us. So what do you think? Is that bona fide, Radhajivan Prabhu? Is that acceptable?
Spread the mercy far and wide.
Otherwise, if they want to do it, well, Dave Madhav will curse me. He'll become really, really angry,
Well, I'm becoming strong devotee because of association of Radha Prabhu. So I'm going to soon miss him. And but your katha is my last hope. That maybe I can join your katha online. Keeps continuing.
Well, I know you and Radhajivan, you guys have a cowspiracy going on, so. All right. We'll go ahead and stop there. And I'm not sure what's going to happen next week. We might be able to have our session. We'll be in Goloka Dham at that time. I really can't say. But probably what's going to happen is going to be, yeah, Satchidananda Maharaj will be speaking at that time. I'll be taking part in that, so we probably won't be able to. We'll just see, but I'm not going to say no, but it seems unlikely. Okay, thank you all very much. Srila Prabhupada ki, Samaveda Bhaktivinoda ki, Gaur Premanandi Hari. O Vachakopatavishas, Kripasindu Vyeva Shankaritanam, Pavanebhyo, Vaishnavebhyo,